Marcus Reed's wire cutters sliced through the brake line at exactly 4:47 p.m. Brake fluid sprayed across his hands, hot and slick. He didn't stop, didn't hesitate, just kept cutting until the line severed completely, then slid out from under the Mercedes before anyone could see what he'd done. His toolbox was still open. His hands were shaking. 60 feet away, in the customer lounge, millionaire CEO Rachel Donovan was signing her service receipt, about to walk out and get in this car. Marcus had worked at Premier Motors for 3 years, never been late, never made a mistake, never done anything that would risk his daughter's future. Until now. He wiped his hands on his coveralls, but the brake fluid wouldn't come off. Evidence. Clear, damning, career-ending evidence. The security cameras had captured everything. In about 90 seconds, his life was going to be over. 50 feet away, Rachel pushed through the glass doors, her heels clicking on the polished showroom floor. She had her keys in her hand, her phone pressed to her ear. She wasn't looking at Marcus. Wealthy people never looked at mechanics. 40 feet. Marcus watched her coming. He could run right now, take Lily and disappear before security checked the footage. They were already 3 months behind on rent. What difference did it make if they ran? 30 feet. But he didn't move. Just stood there next to her car, brake fluid drying on his palms, waiting for what came next. Rachel clicked her key fob. The Mercedes chirped. The locks disengaged. She opened the driver's door, still on the phone, barely glancing at Marcus as she slid behind the wheel. The engine purred to life. She put it in drive. Marcus held his breath. The car rolled forward, 5 feet, 10 feet, 15 feet toward the parking lot exit and the highway beyond. Then Rachel pressed the brake pedal. Nothing happened. The car kept rolling, her foot slamming down harder, her phone dropping from her hand, her voice cutting off mid-sentence as she realized something was catastrophically wrong. The Mercedes hit the decorative concrete barrier at 5 miles per hour with a sound like crushed aluminum. The airbag didn't deploy. The car stopped. Rachel was thrown forward against her seatbelt, gasping, her hands locked on the steering wheel. For 3 seconds, there was total silence in the showroom. Then someone screamed, "Call 911!" Security was already running. The service manager, Todd Vickers, sprinted from his office, his face white, and Rachel Donovan turned in her seat, her eyes finding Marcus through the windshield. He was still standing there, brake fluid on his hands, wire cutters visible in his open toolbox, watching her. Their eyes met for 1 second. Marcus saw the exact moment she understood. The exact moment rage replaced shock. 2 security guards grabbed him before he could speak. Todd was shouting orders, checking Rachel, calling the police. Marcus didn't fight, didn't resist. Just let them pull his arms behind his back, let them push him down onto the showroom floor, let them cuff his wrists while expensive shoes stepped around him and voices overlapped in panic and accusation. Rachel climbed out of her car, shaking but unhurt. She walked straight toward Marcus, her shadow falling across his face. "What did you do to my car?" Her voice was ice. Marcus looked up at her. This woman whose life had just changed in ways she couldn't possibly understand yet. This woman who was about to have him arrested. This woman who had no idea she was supposed to be dead. "Check the master cylinder," he said quietly, "before you drive anything else." "What?" "Just check it, please." Rachel's hand was already pulling her phone out. "I'm calling my lawyer. I'm calling the police. You're going to prison for this." "I know," Marcus said. Because he did know. He'd known the moment he picked up those wire cutters. Known exactly what this would cost him. Known that saving her life meant destroying his own. The police arrived 7 minutes later. Rachel gave her statement, calm and clear and absolutely certain. "That mechanic sabotaged my brakes. I want him charged with attempted murder." Marcus was loaded into the back of a patrol car, and as they pulled away from Premier Motors, he looked back one time. Rachel was standing in the parking lot, arms crossed, watching him go. She thought she knew what had happened. She had no idea. The holding cell at the 18th District Station smelled like disinfectant and desperation. Marcus sat on the metal bench, his coveralls still stained with brake fluid, and thought about Lily. She was at aftercare right now. Mrs. Chen from downstairs was supposed to pick her up at 6. It was 5:23. He had 37 minutes before his daughter realized something was wrong. He'd called Mrs. Chen from the station phone, told her he'd be late, didn't tell her why, didn't tell her he might not be coming home at all. The detective who interviewed him was a woman in her 40s named Sarah Kovacs. She had tired eyes and a recorder that she placed on the table between them with deliberate precision. "Walk me through it," she said. Marcus told her everything. About finding the car on his service rotation, about the brake inspection, about what he'd found under the chassis that shouldn't have been there. "You're saying someone else tampered with the brakes first?" Kovacs asked. "Yes. And you decided to cut them yourself to..." "What?" "Save her life. To make them fail safely, in the parking lot instead of on the highway." Kovacs wrote something in her notebook. Her pen moved slowly, like she was choosing her words carefully. "That's an interesting story. It's the truth. Ms. Donovan says you've never worked on her car before today. She says she doesn't know you. Why would anyone want to kill her?" Marcus had been asking himself the same question. "I don't know, but they did. And if you don't check that master cylinder, you're going to miss it. We'll check everything." Kovacs closed her notebook. "But right now, Mr. Reed, the evidence is pretty clear. Security footage shows you under her vehicle. Your tools cut the brake line. She crashes. That's attempted murder in Illinois. Then charge me." "We will. But I'm curious about something." She leaned forward. "You've got a daughter, 7 years old. You're 3 months behind on rent. Your employer says you've been asking about overtime, about advancement, about anything that pays more. You're desperate for money. And then a millionaire's car ends up in your bay and you sabotage it. Maybe hoping for a settlement. Maybe hoping she'd pay you to keep quiet about shoddy maintenance. Maybe just angry at people who have everything while you have nothing." Marcus looked at her. "If I wanted money, I would have let her die and sued the dealership for putting me in that position. I'd have evidence that I reported a problem and was ignored. That's worth millions in liability." Kovacs' pen stopped moving. "Instead," Marcus continued, "I destroyed my career and got myself arrested to save someone I've never met. Does that sound like someone looking for a payday? It sounds like someone with a more complicated plan." "Check the master cylinder," Marcus said for the 3rd time. "Please." At 6:15 p.m., Mrs. Chen picked up Lily from aftercare. The little girl was carrying her backpack and a drawing she'd made in art class. A picture of her and her dad at the park, holding hands, smiling. Mrs. Chen took her upstairs to their apartment, fed her dinner, helped her with homework, and didn't say anything about where Marcus was. She didn't know herself. By 7:30, Lily was asking questions. "When's Daddy coming home?" "Soon, sweetheart." "Is he working late?" Something like that. Lily's insulin injection was due at 8. Mrs. Chen had helped with it before, but she was nervous. Marcus always handled the medical stuff. He'd taught himself everything about type 1 diabetes when Lily was diagnosed 3 years ago, learning to calculate carbs and doses and correction factors with the precision of a pharmacist. Mrs. Chen called Marcus's phone. It went straight to voicemail. At Premier Motors, Rachel Donovan was still in the customer lounge, waiting for her lawyer and trying to calm down. Her hands had stopped shaking, but the adrenaline was still there, sharp and electric under her skin. Todd Vickers brought her coffee. "Ms. Donovan, I am so sorry. We've never had anything like this happen. Reed seemed like a solid employee, quiet, reliable. I had no idea he was capable of..." "I want a full investigation," Rachel interrupted. "I want to know how someone like that passed your background checks. I want to know what oversight you have on your service bay. And I want a complete inspection of every system on that car before it leaves this lot." "Of course. Absolutely. Not by anyone on your staff. I'm bringing in an independent forensic mechanic. Someone who actually knows what they're doing." Todd's face flushed. "Ms. Donovan, I understand you're upset, but our technicians are fully certified. Your technician just tried to murder me. We don't know that for sure. He might have been confused, or... Rachel stood up. Get me the police report. Get me the security footage, and get that car into a bay where nobody touches it until my people arrive. She walked outside, needing air, needing space. Her Mercedes was still sitting against the concrete barrier, looking almost normal except for the crumpled front bumper. Such a small impact. She'd barely felt it. If she'd been going faster, if she'd been on the highway like she'd planned. Her phone rang. Her assistant, Julie. Where are you? The board meeting started 10 minutes ago. Rachel had completely forgotten. I'm dealing with an emergency. Tell them to start without me. Keith already did. He said you called him about a delay. Rachel frowned. She hadn't called Keith. Put him on. A moment later, Keith Ashford's smooth voice came through the line. Rachel, are you okay? Julie said there was an emergency. Someone sabotaged my car. Silence. Then, carefully. What? My brakes were cut. I crashed in the dealership parking lot. My God, are you hurt? No, it was low speed. I'm fine. Who did this? One of the mechanics. The police have him. More silence. Then Keith said, Listen, I don't want you driving anywhere alone until we know what this is about. Let me send a car for you. My driver's available. I'm fine, Keith. Rachel, someone just tried to kill you. You're not fine. Let me help. She wanted to argue, but he was right. Her hands were shaking again just thinking about getting into another car. Okay, thank you. I'll have him there in 20 minutes. And Rachel, we need to talk about the Meridian acquisition. The deadline is Friday. If something's going on, if someone's trying to stop this deal, we'll talk tomorrow. She ended the call and looked back at her car. Something was bothering her. Something the mechanic had said. Check the master cylinder. Why would he say that? If he'd sabotaged the brakes himself, why tell her to check anything? Why not just stay quiet? Let her blame faulty maintenance, take his chances in court. She called her lawyer, then called the forensic mechanic she'd used before. A woman named Angela Torres, who'd helped prove a competitor's product defect case 2 years ago. I need you at Premier Motors in downtown Chicago. Tonight, I need a full brake system analysis. What am I looking for? Angela asked. I don't know, Rachel said, but I need you to find it. At 10:47 p.m., Detective Kovacs walked into the holding area where Marcus was waiting for processing. She had a different expression now. Not tired, alert. We checked the master cylinder, she said. Marcus looked up. You were right. There's evidence of tampering. Sophisticated tampering. Someone modified the ABS module and installed a secondary pressure valve that would fail under specific conditions. High speed, sustained braking, heat buildup. It was designed to look like mechanical failure. Marcus felt something release in his chest. Not relief. Not vindication. Just the confirmation that he'd seen what he thought he'd seen. The forensic mechanic says whoever did this knew exactly what they were doing. This wasn't some amateur job. And your cut, Kovacs continued. Your cut prevented the original sabotage from activating. You actually saved her life. So you're releasing me? We're still investigating. But you're no longer our primary suspect. Someone else tried to kill Rachel Donovan. Someone with access to her vehicle and the technical expertise to pull this off. We need to figure out who. Todd Vickers, Marcus said immediately. The service manager. When I tried to tell him about the problems I found, he shut me down. Told me to stop wasting time. He didn't want me looking too closely. Kovacs wrote this down. We'll talk to him. And you need to warn Miss Donovan, whoever did this isn't going to stop just because the first attempt failed. We're assigning protection. She's been informed. Marcus stood up. Can I go home now? My daughter's waiting for me. Kovacs hesitated. You're free to leave, but Mr. Reed, don't leave the city. We're going to need you to testify about what you found, and there's a chance whoever's behind this knows you can identify their work. You're saying I'm in danger. I'm saying someone went to a lot of trouble to kill a millionaire, and you got in the way. So yes, be careful. Marcus walked out of the station at 11:20 p.m. He took the L train back to his neighborhood, watching his reflection in the dark windows and thinking about the way Rachel Donovan had looked at him. like he was something dangerous, something to be eliminated. Tomorrow, she'd know the truth. Tomorrow, everything would change. But tonight, he just needed to get home to his daughter. Mrs. Chen was asleep on the couch when Marcus unlocked the apartment door. She jerked awake, blinking. "Marcus!" "Thank God. What happened?" "Long story. Thank you for staying with Lily. She's been asking about you all night. I gave her the insulin at 8 like you showed me, but I wasn't sure if I did it right." "I'm sure you did fine." Marcus looked toward Lily's room. The door was closed. A nightlight glowed underneath. "She's asleep." Finally, around 10. She was worried. After Mrs. Chen left, Marcus stood in the hallway outside Lily's room for a long moment. Then he opened the door quietly and looked at his daughter sleeping. She had her stuffed rabbit tucked under one arm, her dark hair spread across the pillow. She looked so small, so fragile, and Marcus had just made a choice that might have protected a stranger but endangered his own child. If he lost his job, when he lost his job, they'd lose the apartment. They'd lose their health insurance. Lily's insulin cost $800 a month without coverage. How was he supposed to afford that? But if he'd done nothing, Rachel Donovan would be dead, and Marcus would have to live with that for the rest of his life. He closed Lily's door and walked to the kitchen. 3 eviction notices were stuck to the refrigerator with magnets. A medical bill for Lily's last emergency room visit. A reminder from the school about overdue lunch account charges. His phone buzzed. Unknown number. He answered it. "Mr. Reed." "This is Rachel Donovan." Marcus went still. "Miss Donovan." "I owe you an apology. The forensic investigation confirmed your story. You saved my life, and I had you arrested. I'm sorry." "It's fine." "It's not fine. I need to meet with you. Tomorrow morning, there's a coffee shop called Brood Awakening on Wells Street. Can you be there at 8? I lost my job today. I can be anywhere." A pause. "You were fired." "I cut your brake line on camera. What did you think would happen? I'll talk to the dealership. I'll explain." "Don't." Marcus's voice was harder than he intended. "I don't want anything from you, Ms. Donovan. You asked me to meet you. I'll meet you, but I don't need your pity or your money." Another pause, longer this time. 8 a.m. Brood Awakening. She hung up. Marcus set his phone down and looked at the eviction notices on the refrigerator. He'd just turned down help from a millionaire because his pride wouldn't let him accept it. Lily would pay the price for that pride, and he'd have to live with that too. The coffee shop was crowded when Marcus arrived at 7:55 a.m. Rachel was already there, sitting in a corner booth, wearing business casual and sunglasses, even though they were indoors. She had a briefcase and a laptop, and she looked like she hadn't slept much. Marcus slid into the seat across from her. He was wearing the only clean shirt he owned and jeans that were starting to fray at the knees. Rachel took off her sunglasses. "Thank you for coming. You said you needed to meet." "I do. I need your help." Marcus laughed. He couldn't help it. "My help with what?" "Figuring out who tried to kill me. That's a job for the police." "The police are investigating a sabotaged brake system. They're focused on the mechanics, the dealership staff, anyone with access to my car, but they're missing something bigger." She opened her laptop and turned it toward him. Financial documents filled the screen, spreadsheets, transaction records, email chains. "I run a technology company called Donovan Industries. We develop software for financial institutions. 3 days ago, we finalized the terms for a $500 million acquisition of a competitor called Meridian Tech. The deal closes Friday. If I die before then, the acquisition collapses." Marcus studied the screen. Numbers he didn't fully understand, but he could see the pattern. Large sums of money moving between accounts. Who benefits if the deal collapses? That's what I'm trying to figure out. The board wants this acquisition. Our investors want it. Meridian wants it. On paper, everyone wins. "On paper," Marcus repeated. "What about off paper?" Rachel's expression shifted. "The acquisition includes a full audit of Meridian's finances. If there's anything hidden in their books, we'll find it. which means if someone at Meridian has been embezzling or cooking numbers, this deal would expose them. So someone at Meridian tried to kill you to stop the audit. Maybe. Or maybe someone at my own company has been doing the same thing, and they don't want Meridian's audit team looking at our books in return. Marcus leaned back. You're telling me you think someone inside your company wants you dead. I'm telling you someone with money and resources tried to have me killed in a way that would look like an accident. That's not some random mechanic. That's someone with a plan. The police should handle this. The police are looking at the wrong people. They're investigating Todd Vickers and the dealership staff. But none of them have a motive. None of them benefit from my death. And you think I can help you somehow? You found the sabotage. You understood what you were looking at well enough to stop it. That means you know cars, you know systems, and you know how to spot something that doesn't belong. I need someone like that. Someone who sees details other people miss. Marcus shook his head. I'm a mechanic. Was a mechanic. I'm not a detective. You're observant. You're smart. And you're the only person who's told me the truth in the last 24 hours. Rachel closed the laptop. I'm offering you a job. Temporary consultant. You help me figure out who's behind this, and I pay you $20,000. The number hit Marcus like a physical thing. $20,000. That was 6 months of rent, a year of Lily's insulin, a chance to stop drowning. Why me? He asked quietly. Because you cut my brake line to save my life when you had every reason to let me die. That tells me something about who you are. She paused. And because if someone's trying to kill me, they're going to try again. I need people around me I can trust. Right now, that list is very short. Marcus thought about Lily, about the eviction notices, about the medical bills and the overdue lunch account and the future that was slipping away no matter how hard he worked. What do I have to do? Come to my office, meet my executive team, look at their access logs, their financial records, their communications. Tell me if anything feels wrong. You're asking me to spy on your own people. I'm asking you to help me stay alive. Marcus met her eyes. There was fear there, buried under the professional competence and the expensive clothes. Real fear. The kind that came from realizing someone wanted you dead and you didn't know who. Okay, he said, but I need to take care of my daughter. I can't work nights. And if this puts her in any danger, it won't. You have my word. Marcus didn't believe her, because danger had a way of spreading, of following you home, of finding the people you loved most. But $20,000 was the difference between surviving and losing everything. When do we start? Now. Donovan Industries occupied floors 16 through 23 of a glass tower on Wacker Drive. Rachel's office was on the 23rd floor, with windows that looked out over the Chicago River, and a desk that was twice the size of Marcus's entire apartment. She introduced him to her assistant first, a sharp-eyed woman in her 30s named Julie Park, who looked at Marcus like he was a problem she'd have to solve later. This is Marcus Reed. He's consulting on a security matter. I need you to set him up with building access and schedule meetings with the executive team. Julie glanced at Marcus's jeans and worn jacket. All of them? All of them. Should I tell them what this is about? Tell them I'm reviewing our acquisition security protocols. Tell them I need to verify access logs and communication records. Tell them cooperation is mandatory. Julie nodded and left. The door clicked shut. Rachel gestured for Marcus to sit. My core executive team is 5 people. Keith Ashford is my COO. He's been with the company since I founded it 8 years ago. We started in my garage with $20,000 and a prototype. He's my business partner, my right hand, my closest friend. Marcus noted the way she said it. Present tense, but with something uncertain underneath. You don't think he's involved? I don't want to think he's involved. But he's been pushing hard for this acquisition, harder than anyone else. And if I die before Friday, he becomes acting CEO with full signing authority. What about the others? Linda Wu, CFO. She's been with us for 5 years. Brilliant with numbers, cautious with risk. She actually opposed the Meridian deal initially, said the timeline was too aggressive, but she changed her mind after seeing their financial projections. Why? I don't know. That's what bothers me. Rachel pulled up a file on her laptop. Photographs and brief bios appeared on the screen. David Park, head of engineering. He's quiet, competent, never misses a deadline. He's been worried about intellectual property security with the acquisition, worried that Meridian might steal our code. Would they? Not if the contracts are structured correctly. But David doesn't trust contracts. He trusts encryption and air-gapped servers. He wanted to delay the deal until we could lock down our systems. I overruled him. Who else? Simone Carter, head of HR and operations. She handles everything from hiring to office management to legal compliance. She's the one who will have to integrate Meridian's employees after the acquisition. It's a massive amount of work, and she's been stressed about it. Marcus studied the faces on the screen. Professional headshots, polished smiles. People who worked in glass towers and made decisions that moved millions of dollars. One of them wanted Rachel dead. I need to see their financial records, Marcus said. Bank accounts, credit cards, property holdings. Anything that shows how they spend money. I can't get personal financial information without a warrant. Then get what you can. Corporate expense reports, travel records, anything that shows patterns. Rachel made a note. What else? I need to see the dealership service records. Find out who scheduled your maintenance appointment. Find out if anyone knew your car would be there yesterday. The police are already looking at that. Then I need to know what they found. Rachel picked up her phone and made a call. 2 minutes of quiet conversation. Then she hung up. Detective Kovacs will share what she can, but Marcus, you need to understand something. If we start digging into my executives' private lives, if we start accusing people without evidence, this company will tear itself apart. I need proof before I can act. Then we'll find proof. The first meeting was with Keith Ashford at 10 a.m. He walked into Rachel's office with easy confidence, wearing a suit that probably cost more than Marcus made in a month. He had silver in his dark hair and the kind of tan that came from weekend golf, not construction work. He shook Rachel's hand, then looked at Marcus with polite curiosity. Keith Ashford. Rachel's told me you're consulting on security protocols? Marcus stood and shook his hand. Keith's grip was firm but not aggressive. His smile was genuine. Everything about him said trustworthy professional, which meant exactly nothing. Marcus Reed, I'm reviewing access procedures for the Meridian acquisition. Excellent. We can't be too careful. Keith sat down and crossed his legs. What do you need from me? Rachel took the lead. I need to review your building access logs for the past month, your communication records with external parties, your travel schedule, standard security audit procedures. Keith didn't blink. Of course. I'll have Julie pull everything together. Is this about the break incident? It's about making sure we're secure before the acquisition closes. Smart. Meridian's been sniffing around our systems for weeks. I've had David lock down everything, but you can never be too paranoid. He looked at Marcus. What's your background? Are you private security? Mechanical systems analysis, Marcus said carefully. I specialize in identifying unauthorized modifications. Like the sabotage on Rachel's car? Yes. Keith's expression darkened. That was terrifying. Rachel, I still think you should have security with you at all times. Whoever did that could try again. I'm being careful. Careful isn't enough. Someone tried to kill you. He stood up. I'll get you those records by end of day. And Marcus, if you need anything else from me, just ask. Rachel's safety is my top priority. He left. The door closed. Rachel looked at Marcus. What do you think? I think he's either completely innocent or very good at lying. That's helpful. You asked what I think. I think we need to see those records before I can tell you anything useful. The meetings continued through the afternoon. Linda Wu was precise and analytical, asking specific questions about data security protocols and seeming genuinely concerned about protecting the company's financial information. David Park was nervous, talking too fast about firewalls and encryption standards and the dangers of corporate espionage. Simone Carter was exhausted. mentioning the 70-hour weeks she'd been working to prepare for the acquisition integration. All of them seemed normal, professional, concerned about Rachel's safety and the company's security. All of them had motive, means, and opportunity. By 5 p.m., Marcus's head was spinning with information. Access logs, email metadata, travel schedules, expense reports. Thousands of data points that meant nothing individually but might form a pattern if he could just see how they connected. Rachel ordered food to be delivered to the office. Chinese takeout that probably cost $50 but tasted like every other Chinese takeout Marcus had ever eaten. They worked through dinner, spreading documents across the conference table in Rachel's office. Marcus had a legal pad and was making notes by hand, the way he used to diagram automotive electrical systems, connections and flows, causes and effects. Linda opposed the acquisition initially, he said, pointing to an email chain. But then she changed her mind. What happened between these two dates? Rachel looked at the emails. March 15th and March 22nd. 1 week apart. I don't know. She said she'd reviewed Meridian's financial projections and they were better than she expected. Who gave her those projections? Keith. He's been handling most of the Meridian negotiations. Marcus made a note. What about David? He wanted to delay the deal. Did he get overruled? Yes. I told him we couldn't wait. The market window was closing and Meridian had other potential buyers. Who told you that? Rachel paused. Keith. Marcus circled Keith's name on his notepad. Not proof, just a pattern. Everything seemed to flow through Keith Ashford. His phone buzzed. Mrs. Chen, Lily's asking when you're coming home. Her blood sugar was high after dinner. I gave her a correction dose like you showed me, but I'm worried. Marcus texted back. I'll be home in an hour. Thank you. Rachel was watching him. Your daughter? She has type 1 diabetes. I need to get home. How old is she? 7. Rachel's expression softened. That must be hard. Managing that on your own. You do what you have to do. Her mother died when Lily was 3. Cancer. Marcus stood up and started gathering his notes. I'll look at this more tonight. See if I can find any patterns. Marcus, wait. Rachel stood too. I know this is a lot. I know you're doing this for the money, and I respect that. But I need to know you're in this completely. Because if we're right, if someone inside my company wants me dead, then the moment they realize we're investigating, they're going to come after both of us. I'm in, Marcus said, until we figure out who did this. Why? Why risk it? Marcus thought about how to answer. About Lily sleeping in her room with her stuffed rabbit. About the eviction notices on the refrigerator. About the choice he'd made yesterday to cut a brake line and save a stranger's life. Because you were supposed to die yesterday, and I stopped it. That makes me responsible for what happens next. He left before she could argue. The apartment was quiet when Marcus got home. Mrs. Chen had left a note saying Lily was asleep. He checked her blood sugar anyway. 147. Not great, but not dangerous. He made a note in her logbook and kissed her forehead. Then he sat at the kitchen table with his notepad and the documents Rachel had given him, and he started looking for patterns. Keith Ashford had traveled to Indianapolis 4 times in the past 2 months. Why Indianapolis? Meridian Tech was based in San Francisco. Linda Wu's expense reports showed regular payments to a financial consulting firm called Apex Advisory Partners. Marcus Googled them. They specialized in corporate fraud investigation and forensic accounting. Why would a CFO hire fraud investigators? David Park's building access logs showed him entering the office at odd hours. 2 a.m., 4 a.m., 6 a.m. He told Rachel he was working on security protocols, but there was no record of what he was actually doing during those visits. Simone Carter had submitted a resignation letter 4 weeks ago, then withdrawn it 2 days later. Why? None of it proved anything, but it all felt wrong. Like finding a car with too many modifications and knowing something was hidden underneath. Marcus's phone rang. Detective Kovac. Mr. Reed, we've got a problem. Todd Vickers disappeared. He didn't show up for work today, and his apartment is cleared out. It looks like he ran. You think he was the one who sabotaged the car? I think he's involved. But here's what bothers me. Vickers isn't smart enough to pull off that kind of brake modification. He's a service manager, not an engineer. Someone else did the actual work. He just provided access. Who? That's what I need to figure out. But Mr. Reed, if Vickers ran, that means he's scared. And if he's scared, that means whoever hired him is tying up loose ends. You need to be careful. Marcus looked at the documents spread across his kitchen table. I will be. Where are you right now? Home, with my daughter. Stay there. Don't open the door for anyone. I'm sending a patrol car to do regular passes through your neighborhood tonight. The call ended. Marcus locked the apartment door, checked the windows, and sat in the dark kitchen listening to his daughter sleep in the next room. Someone had tried to kill Rachel Donovan. That someone had connections inside a luxury car dealership. That someone had enough money to hire professionals. That someone was now cleaning up evidence and eliminating witnesses. And Marcus had put himself directly in their path. He thought about calling Rachel, about telling her he was out, that $20,000 wasn't worth getting killed over. But then he thought about Lily's insulin, about the eviction notices, about the future that was disappearing faster than he could catch it. He'd made his choice yesterday when he cut that brake line. Now he had to live with the consequences. The patrol car rolled past at midnight, at 2 a.m., at 4 a.m. Marcus didn't sleep. He sat at the kitchen table, looking at patterns, looking for connections, looking for the thing everyone else was missing. At 6:30 a.m., he found it. Linda Wu's fraud investigators had been hired 3 months ago. Their invoice described the work as internal audit of executive compensation and expense allocation. She'd been investigating someone inside the company, and 2 weeks after she started, Keith Ashford had made his first trip to Indianapolis. Marcus grabbed his phone and called Rachel. She answered on the second ring, her voice alert. She hadn't slept either. Did you find something? Maybe. Does your company have any business in Indianapolis? No. Why? Keith's been there 4 times in 2 months, and your CFO hired fraud investigators 3 months ago to audit executive compensation. I think Linda found something. I think that's why she opposed the acquisition initially. And I think Keith convinced her to change her mind. Rachel was quiet for a moment. How? I don't know. But we need to talk to her. Today, before Keith realizes we're looking at him. I'll call her now. Can you be at the office by 8? I need to get Lily to school first. I'll be there by 9. Marcus hung up and went to wake his daughter. She was groggy and complained about having to get up so early, but she let him check her blood sugar and give her insulin and make her breakfast. Normal morning routine. Normal day. Except nothing was normal anymore. He walked Lily to school, holding her hand, watching the cars that passed and the people on the sidewalk and trying not to let his paranoia infect her. Daddy, are you okay? She asked at the school entrance. I'm fine, sweetheart. Just tired. You look worried. I'm always worried. That's my job as a dad. She hugged him. Don't worry so much. It makes your face crinkly. He watched her go inside, her backpack bouncing, her dark hair in the ponytail he'd learned to do on YouTube. 7 years old. His entire world. The reason he'd cut a brake line and destroyed his life to save a stranger. His phone buzzed. Rachel. Linda's not answering. She didn't come in today. That's not like her. Marcus felt something cold settle in his stomach. Call the police. Send them to her house. Already did. They're on their way. Marcus got on the L train heading downtown, his mind racing. If Linda had found evidence of embezzlement, if Keith had convinced her to stay quiet, if she'd changed her mind about the acquisition to protect him, then she was a liability. Just like Todd Vickers had been a liability. Just like Marcus was a liability now. The train lurched to a stop. Marcus's phone rang. Unknown number. He answered it. A voice he didn't recognize. Male, calm, professional. Mr. Reed, you need to stop what you're doing. Who is this? Someone who doesn't want to hurt your daughter. But I will if you keep digging into things that don't concern you. Marcus's blood went ice. If you touch her, I won't have to. You're going to walk away. You're going to tell Miss Donovan you changed your mind. You're going to take your daughter and leave Chicago, today. And if I don't, then at 3 p.m., someone will pick Lily up from school. They'll tell her you sent them. She'll go with them because she's 7 and she trusts adults. And you'll never see her again. The call ended. Marcus stood frozen in the train car. People pressed around him. The city rolling past outside. 3 p.m., 6 hours. He called the school. This is Marcus Reed. My daughter Lily is in 2nd grade. I need you to put her on lockdown. Nobody picks her up except me. If anyone tries, call the police. The school secretary sounded concerned. Mr. Reed, is everything okay? Just do it, please. He called Detective Kovacs next, told her about the threat. She promised immediate police presence at the school and a protection detail for Lily. Then he called Rachel. They threatened my daughter. They're telling me to walk away. Rachel's voice was sharp. Come to the office. Now. We'll figure this out. There's nothing to figure out. They're going after Lily. I'm done. Marcus, if you walk away, they'll kill me. And then they'll kill you anyway because you know too much. The only way forward is through. That's easy for you to say. It's not your daughter they're threatening. You're right. It's not. But someone tried to murder me 3 days ago, and you stopped them. Now they're trying again, and this time they're using your daughter as leverage. If we let that work, we both lose. Marcus leaned against the train wall, his hands shaking. She was right. Walking away wouldn't protect Lily. It would just delay the inevitable. What do you want me to do? Come to the office. We'll keep you safe. I'll hire private security for Lily. Ex-Secret Service. Ex-FBI. People who actually know what they're doing. But we have to finish this. We have to find out who's behind this before they make another move. The train doors opened. Marcus stepped onto the platform. I'm on my way. Donovan Industries' 23rd floor had been transformed into something like a war room. Rachel had cleared her conference room and filled it with equipment. Laptops, monitors, file boxes. 2 people Marcus didn't recognize were setting up communication systems. Rachel met him at the elevator. Security team, they're sweeping the office for surveillance devices and securing our networks. I'm not taking any chances. She led him to her office. The door closed, and suddenly the noise of the conference room disappeared, replaced by thick silence. Linda's dead, Rachel said quietly. The police found her this morning. Carbon monoxide poisoning in her garage. Her car was running. They're calling it suicide. Marcus felt like he'd been punched. It wasn't suicide. I know, she was murdered, just like they tried to murder me. Rachel's hands were shaking. She noticed and clasped them together. Linda was my friend. She was my CFO. She helped build this company, and someone killed her because she found something. We need to find what she found. I've been trying. Her files are password protected. Her personal computer was wiped clean. Whatever evidence she had, it's gone. Marcus thought about the fraud investigators. What about Apex Advisory Partners? The firm she hired. They'd have copies of everything. Rachel pulled out her phone. I'll call them. But Apex Advisory Partners wasn't answering their phones. Their office voicemail said they were closed for renovations and would reopen in 2 weeks. That's not a coincidence, Marcus said. No, someone's covering their tracks. Rachel sat down at her desk, looking suddenly exhausted. Keith came to see me this morning. Before I knew about Linda, he said we should delay the acquisition. Said it was too dangerous to proceed while someone's targeting the company. He seemed genuinely concerned. Or he's trying to buy time to clean up evidence. I don't know anymore. I've known Keith for 8 years. We started this company together. He was at my mother's funeral. He helped me through my divorce. I can't believe he'd do this. People change when money's involved. $500 million. That's what this acquisition is worth. If Linda found evidence that Keith's been embezzling, if the acquisition audit would expose him. Rachel trailed off. How much do you think he took? Enough to kill 3 people to hide it. Rachel's phone buzzed. A text from Julie. Keith's asking to see you. Says it's urgent. Rachel looked at Marcus. Should I meet with him? Yes, but I want to be there. Hidden. Listening. She nodded and stood up. I have a panic button in my office. If anything goes wrong, security will be here in 30 seconds. And, Marcus, thank you for not walking away. I haven't decided yet if that was smart or stupid. Me neither. Rachel positioned Marcus in her private bathroom with the door open a crack so he could hear the conversation. Then she texted Julie to send Keith in. Marcus watched through the gap as Keith Ashford entered the office. He looked agitated, his usual smooth confidence replaced by something urgent. Rachel, we need to talk. Privately. We are private. No, I mean really private. No phones, no recording devices, no witnesses. Rachel's hand moved toward her desk drawer where the panic button was hidden. Keith, you're scaring me. Good. You should be scared. Someone's trying to destroy this company, and I think I know who. Who? Keith pulled out his phone and set it on Rachel's desk. A photo filled the screen. Todd Vickers standing outside a building Marcus didn't recognize, talking to someone whose face was turned away from the camera. I've been investigating the brake sabotage on my own, trying to figure out who had motive and opportunity. Vickers disappeared, so I hired someone to track him down. They found him yesterday in Indianapolis. He's been meeting with executives from Meridian Tech. Rachel leaned closer. Meridian's behind this? I think so. They want this acquisition to fail. If you die, if our company goes into crisis mode, the deal collapses. Meridian gets to stay independent and probably negotiates a better price with another buyer. They win. We lose. Marcus studied the photo. Something about it felt staged, too convenient, too clean. Rachel was thinking the same thing. Why would Meridian risk murder charges to avoid being acquired? That makes no sense, unless their books are worse than they've disclosed, unless they're hiding fraud or debt or liabilities that would come out in our due diligence. They'd rather kill you than let us see the truth. It was a good theory. Plausible. Almost convincing. Except for one problem. Marcus stepped out of the bathroom. Why Indianapolis? Keith spun around, his hand going to his pocket instinctively before he caught himself. Who the hell are you? Marcus Reed, security consultant. I asked why Indianapolis. Meridian's based in San Francisco. Why would Vickers meet them in Indiana? Keith's expression hardened. I don't know. Maybe they were being cautious. Maybe they didn't want to be seen in their home city. Or maybe, Marcus said, you've been going to Indianapolis yourself. 4 times in 2 months. Want to explain why? The room went very quiet. Keith looked at Rachel. You had someone investigate me? I had someone investigate everyone, including you. Rachel, I'm trying to help you. I'm trying to keep you alive. And you're treating me like a suspect. Are you? Keith's jaw tightened. I've given 8 years to this company. I've worked 80-hour weeks. I've sacrificed relationships, health, everything for Donovan Industries. And you think I'd try to kill you? Linda hired fraud investigators 3 months ago. She found something. Then she died. What did she find, Keith? I don't know what you're talking about. Yes, you do. Keith stood up. I'm done with this. When you're ready to talk like adults instead of playing detective, call me. Until then, I'm consulting my lawyer. He left. The door slammed. Rachel looked at Marcus. Did we just make a huge mistake? If he's guilty, we pushed him into a corner. If he's innocent, we destroyed 8 years of trust. Marcus sat down. Either way, we need to move fast. He knows we're investigating him. He's going to either run or destroy evidence or come after us. Rachel finished. Marcus's phone rang. Detective Kovac. Mr. Reed, we have a situation. There's been an incident at your daughter's school. Marcus's heart stopped. What happened? Someone tried to pick her up. They had fake identification with your name on it. The school followed protocol and called the police. We have the suspect in custody. Is Lily okay? She's fine. She's in the principal's office with 2 officers. But Mr. Reed, whoever hired this person is escalating. You need to bring your daughter somewhere safe. today. Marcus looked at Rachel. She was already grabbing her keys. "I'll take you," she said. "Right now." They drove to the school in Rachel's rental car, neither of them speaking. Marcus's mind was spinning with worst-case scenarios, with images of Lily being taken, with the knowledge that he'd brought this danger into their lives. At the school, Lily was sitting in the principal's office eating a juice box and looking remarkably calm for someone who'd just been targeted by a kidnapper. She saw Marcus and ran to him. "Daddy! A police officer let me use his radio." Marcus held her tight, his hands shaking. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "The bad man tried to say you sent him, but I remembered you said only you or Mrs. Chen could pick me up. So I told the teacher and she called the police, and they came with sirens." She was proud of herself, proud that she'd remembered the rules. 7 years old and already learning that the world was dangerous. Detective Kovacs was there, talking to the principal. She saw Marcus and came over. "The suspect's not talking. Professional. We're running his prints, but I don't think we'll get anything. Whoever hired him used a cutout." "What do I do?" Marcus asked. "I can't send her to school. I can't leave her alone. I can't—" Rachel stepped forward. "Bring her to my building. We have security. We have a private conference room she can stay in. We'll protect her." Kovacs looked skeptical. "Ms. Donovan, with all respect, your security hasn't been great so far." "That's because I didn't know I needed it. Now I do, and I'm not letting anyone else die because of this." Marcus looked at Lily, at her small hand in his, at the trust in her eyes. "Okay, but we stay together. I don't let her out of my sight." They took Lily to Donovan Industries. Rachel set them up in a small office next to the conference room, brought in food and coloring books, and told Julie that Marcus and his daughter were off limits to everyone. Lily thought it was an adventure. "Daddy, why are we at an office building?" "I'm helping Miss Donovan with a project. You get to hang out with me today. Can I draw pictures?" "As many as you want." She settled in with crayons and paper, and Marcus tried to focus on the documents Rachel brought him. Financial records, email chains, access logs, evidence that was starting to form a pattern. Keith had taken 7 trips to Indianapolis over the past 6 months. Each trip coincided with large wire transfers from Donovan Industries to a consulting firm called Midwest Analytics, LLC. Marcus Googled Midwest Analytics. The website was generic. Contact information led to a P.O. box. No physical address. It was a shell company. Keith was embezzling money through fake consulting contracts, but that didn't explain why he'd tried to kill Rachel. Embezzlement was serious, but it wasn't murder. Unless... Marcus found another document, a clause in the partnership agreement between Rachel and Keith. If either partner died, the surviving partner inherited full control of the company with the option to buy out the deceased partner's shares at a predetermined valuation. The valuation had been set 8 years ago when the company was worth $10 million. Now it was worth $500 million. If Rachel died, Keith would inherit a company worth $500 million and only have to pay her estate $10 million. That was motive. Marcus showed Rachel the documents. She read them silently, her face going pale. "He's been planning this," she said quietly. "For how long? I don't know. But the acquisition would have triggered an audit that exposed his embezzlement. He needed you dead before that happened." Rachel stood up and walked to the window. Chicago stretched out below, gray and cold and indifferent. "I trusted him. For 8 years, I trusted him completely. I'm sorry." "Don't be. You saved my life. Twice." She turned around. "We need to tell the police. Give them everything we've found. They'll want proof. Right now, all we have is circumstantial evidence. Wire transfers to a shell company, partnership agreements, travel records. A good lawyer will tear it apart. Then what do we do?" Lily's voice came from the other room. "Daddy, I drew you." Marcus went to look at the picture. Lily had drawn him under a car, holding tools, fixing something. She'd drawn Rachel standing next to him, wearing a red dress. And in the corner, she'd drawn another person. A man in a suit watching them. "Who's that?" Marcus asked, pointing to the man. "The man from the parking lot. The one who was watching you when you were working on the lady's car." Marcus felt his blood go cold. "Lily, when did you see this man?" "Yesterday when Mrs. Chen picked me up. We walked past the car place, and I saw you under a car. There was a man watching you from far away. He looked angry." "What did he look like?" Lily studied her drawing. "He had gray in his hair, and he wore a blue tie, and he talked on his phone the whole time." Marcus showed Rachel the picture. "Keith was there, at the dealership, the day I cut your brake line." Rachel stared at the drawing. "He was watching to make sure the sabotage worked, and when I stopped it, I became a problem." Everything clicked into place. Keith had hired Todd Vickers to sabotage Rachel's car. When that failed, he'd killed Linda Wu to eliminate the witness who'd found his embezzlement. He'd tried to have Lily kidnapped to force Marcus to walk away, and now he was running out of time before the acquisition deadline exposed everything. "We need to set a trap," Marcus said. "Make him come to us." "How?" Marcus thought about it, about patterns and systems and the way complicated machines always had a single point of failure. "Tell him you're going to sign the acquisition papers early. Tonight. Tell him you want to get it done before whoever's targeting you can try again. Make him think this is his last chance." Rachel understood immediately. "If he's going to move against me, he'll have to do it tonight, and we'll be ready." Rachel called Keith, put the phone on speaker so Marcus could hear. "Keith, I'm sorry about earlier. You're right. I've been paranoid and suspicious, and it's not fair to you." Keith's voice was cautious. "Rachel, I understand. Someone tried to kill you. It's natural to question everyone. I want to close the Meridian deal tonight. I don't want to wait until Friday. I want it done before anything else can go wrong." "Tonight?" "Rachel, that's not how this works. We have lawyers. We have procedures." "I don't care. I'm the CEO. I'm signing the papers tonight at my house. Can you bring the documents?" A pause, then, "Of course. Whatever you need. What time?" 8 p.m. Just you and me. I need to know I can still trust my partner." "You can trust me, Rachel. You always could." The call ended. Rachel looked at Marcus. "Now what?" "Now we call Detective Kovacs and set up the real trap." At 7:30 p.m., Marcus was crouched in Rachel's kitchen with a police radio and a clear line of sight to the living room. Lily was at a hotel with 2 officers, protected and safe. Detective Kovacs was in the garage with 4 tactical officers. Rachel was alone in the living room, waiting. The acquisition documents were spread across the coffee table. All of them were blank copies. Real papers were in a lawyer's office downtown, nowhere near this house. At 7:58, a car pulled into the driveway. Keith Ashford got out carrying a briefcase. He looked normal, professional, like he'd done this 1,000 times. Rachel opened the door. "Keith, thank you for coming." "Of course." He followed her inside, set the briefcase on the coffee table, looked around. "Are we really alone?" "Just us. Like I promised." Keith opened the briefcase, but instead of documents, he pulled out a gun. Rachel stepped back. "Keith, what are you doing?" "I'm sorry, Rachel. I really am, but you left me no choice. You and that mechanic, you kept digging. Linda found the money. You found the partnership agreement. I can't let you live. The police are outside. You won't make it out of here." "The police think Meridian Tech is behind this. I made sure of that. By the time they figure out the truth, I'll be gone. Offshore accounts, new identity, $50 million to start over." "Keith, please. We can fix this. We can—" "No, we can't." He raised the gun. "I loved this company. I loved building it with you. But you were always going to leave me behind. You were always going to be the success story while I was just the partner. The acquisition was supposed to change that. But Linda found the money, and she had to die. Just like you do." "I'm not alone," Rachel said quietly. "I lied." Keith's expression changed. He spun around just as Detective Kovacs stepped out of the hallway with her weapon drawn. "Drop the gun, Mr. Ashford." "It's over." Keith looked at Rachel. Betrayal and rage and desperation all mixed together. For a moment, Marcus thought he might shoot anyway. might go down fighting. But then he lowered the gun and let it fall to the floor. You were supposed to die on that highway. None of this would have happened if that mechanic hadn't interfered. That's what you don't understand, Rachel said. Marcus interfered because he's a better person than you. He risked everything to save someone he didn't know. You destroyed everything to save yourself. The tactical team moved in. Keith was cuffed and read his rights. The briefcase was opened, revealing not just the gun but a syringe filled with something that looked like insulin. "What is that?" Kovac asked. "Potassium chloride," Keith said flatly. "Causes cardiac arrest. Looks natural. I was going to make it quick." Marcus came out of the kitchen. Keith saw him and something dark passed across his face. This is your fault. If you'd just let her die, she'd be dead and you'd be a murderer who got away with it," Marcus finished. "But she's alive, and you're going to prison." They took Keith away. The house emptied of police and tactical teams and evidence technicians. And then it was just Rachel and Marcus standing in her living room, surrounded by the wreckage of trust and betrayal. "He was my friend," Rachel said quietly. "My partner. I built this company with him. I know. How do I move forward from this? How do I trust anyone again?" "Carefully. One person at a time. Starting with the people who've proven themselves." She looked at him. "Like the mechanic who cut my brake line. Like the mechanic who cut your brake line." The acquisition closed 3 days later. Rachel signed the papers with her remaining executives and a new COO, hired specifically because she had zero connection to Keith Ashford. The deal went through without complications. Donovan Industries became the largest financial software company in North America. Linda Wu's family received a settlement and a foundation established in her name. Todd Vickers turned state's witness and testified against Keith in exchange for a reduced sentence. Keith Ashford was charged with 3 counts of attempted murder, 1 count of first-degree murder, embezzlement, fraud, and conspiracy. His trial was set for 6 months away. Marcus Reed was offered the position of Chief Security Officer at Donovan Industries. Full salary, full benefits, full authority to redesign the company's entire security infrastructure. He accepted on one condition: flexible hours so he could still walk Lily to school every morning. Rachel agreed without hesitation. 2 months after the acquisition, Marcus and Lily moved into a new apartment. 3 bedrooms close to Lily's school, with a kitchen big enough for the 2 of them to cook together. The eviction notices were gone. The medical bills were paid. Lily's insulin was covered by the best health insurance Marcus had ever had. They were sitting at the kitchen table doing homework when Lily looked up from her math worksheet. "Daddy, are we rich now?" Marcus smiled. "No, sweetheart. We're just not poor anymore." "What's the difference?" "Rich people don't worry about money. We still worry. We're just worrying less. I'm glad you helped that lady, even though it was scary." "Me too." "Do you think she's our friend now?" Marcus thought about Rachel, about the way she'd trusted him when she had every reason not to, about the way she'd protected Lily without being asked, about the partnership they'd built investigating her company and exposing the truth. "Yeah," he said, "I think she is." Rachel visited the apartment a week later. She brought Chinese takeout and a gift for Lily, a robotics kit for kids who liked building things. Lily's eyes went wide. "Can I open it?" "After dinner," Marcus said. They ate together at the kitchen table. Rachel asked Lily about school. Lily asked Rachel about running a company. Marcus watched them both and marveled at how life could change so completely in such a short time. After dinner, while Lily was assembling her robot in the living room, Rachel and Marcus stood in the kitchen doing dishes. "I've been thinking about something," Rachel said. "About that day when you cut my brake line. You told Detective Kovac you could have let me die and sued the dealership. You could have been rich. I wasn't thinking about money. I was thinking about Lily having to live with a father who let someone die because he was too scared to act. Most people would have chosen differently. Maybe. But most people aren't raising a 7-year-old alone. Everything I do, I think about what I'm teaching her, what kind of person I'm showing her how to be." Rachel dried a plate slowly. "I've been thinking about trust. about how Keith destroyed mine, about how hard it is to rebuild. It takes time, but it's possible if you find the right people. She set the plate down and looked at him. Marcus, I need to tell you something. The partnership agreement Keith used to justify murder, I'm rewriting it. New terms, new structure, and I want you to be my new COO. Marcus stopped washing dishes. Rachel, I'm not a business executive. I'm a mechanic who got lucky. You're someone who sees patterns other people miss. You're someone who makes hard choices when they matter. You're someone I trust. That's more valuable than any MBA. I don't know anything about running a tech company. Neither did I when I started. I learned. You will too. She paused. I'm not asking you to decide tonight, but think about it. Please. Marcus looked through the doorway at Lily, who was reading the robot instruction manual with intense concentration. His daughter. His reason for everything. I'll think about it, he said. 3 months later, Rachel stood at a podium in front of 500 employees and announced the company's new executive structure. Marcus Reed was named Chief Operating Officer. The room applauded, and Marcus, wearing a suit that still felt uncomfortable, tried not to look as terrified as he felt. After the announcement, one of the engineers approached him, a young woman who'd been with the company for 2 years. Mr. Reed, can I ask you something? Everyone's talking about how you used to be a mechanic. How do you go from fixing cars to running a tech company? Marcus thought about it, about brake lines and wire transfers and patterns hidden in plain sight, about the moment he'd chosen to act instead of staying invisible. Same way you do anything, he said. One system at a time. You figure out how it works. You find what's broken. You fix it before it fails. The engineer nodded like this made sense. Marcus hoped she was right. That evening, Marcus and Rachel stood on the rooftop of Donovan Industries building, looking out at Chicago. The city lights reflected in glass towers, spreading out to the horizon like a circuit board. Do you ever think about that day? Rachel asked. About what would have happened if you'd made a different choice. Every day, Marcus admitted. I think about you driving onto that highway. I think about Lily growing up without a father because I ended up in prison. I think about all the ways it could have gone wrong. But it didn't. No, it didn't. Rachel turned to face him. I never properly thanked you. For saving my life, for risking everything. You gave me a job and paid off my debts and gave my daughter a future. I think that counts as thanks. That was business. This is personal. She reached out and took his hand. Thank you, Marcus, for seeing what no one else saw, for acting when everyone else would have looked away, for being the kind of person who cuts a brake line to save a stranger. Marcus squeezed her hand. Thank you for believing me when you had every reason not to. They stood there in silence, two people who'd been strangers months ago, now bound together by crisis and survival, and the strange trust that came from facing death together. Below them, the city moved on. Traffic flowed. People lived their lives. The world kept turning. And somewhere in that city, a 7-year-old girl was doing homework with a neighbor, practicing math problems and building robots, completely unaware that her father had become someone different. Someone who wore suits and attended board meetings and helped run a company worth $500 million. But Marcus knew the truth. He was still the same person who'd slid under a car with wire cutters and made an impossible choice. Still the father who checked blood sugar at midnight and walked his daughter to school every morning. Still the man who'd learned that sometimes saving someone meant destroying everything you had. And somehow, impossibly, it had worked out. 6 months later, Rachel asked Marcus to dinner. Not a business dinner, a real dinner, at a restaurant with candlelight and wine and no discussion of quarterly projections. Marcus almost said no. The line between professional and personal was already blurred enough. But Lily had given him advice that morning that he couldn't ignore. Daddy, Ms. Rachel looks at you the way you look at your tools when they're organized perfectly, like you're exactly what she needs. So he'd said yes. The restaurant was small and intimate. Rachel wore a blue dress instead of her usual business armor. Marcus wore the suit she'd bought him, still uncomfortable but getting better at pretending it fit. I've been thinking about partnership structures, Rachel said after they ordered. Marcus smiled. Is this a business dinner after all? No, but I'm not good at this, at personal conversations, so I'm going to use a metaphor. She took a breath. Keith taught me that partnerships based on convenience and opportunity eventually fail. They might work for years, but when pressure comes, they crack. Real partnerships have to be built on something stronger. Like what? Like trust. Like knowing someone will act with integrity even when it costs them everything. Like believing that person will protect what matters most. She looked at him directly. Like whatever this is between us. Marcus set down his fork. Rachel, I'm still figuring out how to be a COO. I'm still learning business terminology. I'm still the guy who used to mop your floors. I don't care about any of that. I care that you're honest, that you see things clearly, that you make hard choices when they matter, that my company is better because you're in it, that I'm better because you're in it. I have a 7-year-old daughter who needs insulin every day. My life is complicated. I have a company with 2,000 employees and quarterly earnings calls. My life is complicated too. Maybe complicated is okay. Marcus thought about Lily, about how she'd drawn pictures of Rachel and declared her their friend, about how she'd been right more often than adults gave her credit for. I need to talk to Lily first, he said. Whatever this becomes, she's part of it. I won't do anything that makes her life harder. I wouldn't want you to. I like that about you, that she comes first. They finished dinner talking about everything except work, about Lily's robotics projects, about Rachel's mother who died of cancer 5 years ago, about the strange paths that had brought them both to this moment. When Marcus got home, Mrs. Chen reported that Lily had been perfect and was already asleep. Marcus paid her, thanked her, then went to check on his daughter. She was awake, reading under the covers with a flashlight. You're supposed to be sleeping. I was waiting for you. How was dinner with Miss Rachel? Marcus sat on the edge of her bed. It was nice. She's become a good friend. Do you like her? Yes. Like her. Marcus smiled. Maybe. How would you feel about that? Lily thought about it seriously. Is she nice to you? Very nice. Does she make you smile? Yes. Then I think it's okay. You should have friends who make you smile. You work too hard, Daddy. When did you get so wise? I'm 7 3/4. That's practically grown up. Marcus kissed her forehead. Go to sleep, practically grown-up person. Daddy, I'm glad you helped her. Even though it was scary and we almost lost our apartment. I'm glad you're the kind of person who helps people. Me too, sweetheart. Me too. 1 year after Marcus cut Rachel's brake line, Donovan Industries held its annual shareholder meeting. The company had doubled in size. The Meridian acquisition had been wildly successful. Stock prices were at an all-time high. Marcus stood at the podium next to Rachel, presenting the security infrastructure he'd designed. A system built on the principle that trust required verification, that access required accountability, and that the best protection came from people who cared about doing things right. The shareholders applauded. The board nodded approval. Rachel smiled at him from across the stage. After the meeting, Marcus and Rachel and Lily had dinner together. It had become their routine. 3 nights a week, they ate as a family. Because that's what they'd become, slowly and carefully and without ever officially deciding it. Rachel helped Lily with her science project. Marcus cooked pasta. They talked about school and work and the upcoming camping trip they'd planned for next month. Normal life. The kind Marcus had dreamed about during those desperate months when he was 3 months behind on rent and watching his daughter's future disappear. Later, after Lily was asleep, Marcus and Rachel sat on his apartment's small balcony, looking out at the city lights. Do you ever regret it? Rachel asked. Cutting my brake line? Changing everything? Marcus thought about it honestly, about the fear and the risk and the moment of decision when he'd known his life was about to end. No, he said finally, I don't regret it, because the person I was before wouldn't have this, wouldn't have you, wouldn't have shown Lily that sometimes you have to break everything to save what matters. That's a good lesson for a 7-year-old. That's a good lesson for anyone. He took her hand. You asked me once why I did it. Why I risked everything for a stranger. I think I finally have a real answer. What is it? Because some things are worth more than safety. Some choices define who you are more than years of careful living. And I wanted Lily to grow up knowing her father was someone who acted when it mattered, even if it cost him everything. Rachel leaned her head on his shoulder. It cost you everything and gave you everything. Yeah, it did. They sat in comfortable silence, watching Chicago breathe below them. Somewhere in that city, other people were making impossible choices. Other people were deciding between safety and courage, between staying invisible and stepping forward. Marcus hoped they'd choose courage, because he'd learned something that day under Rachel's car, wire cutters in hand, future collapsing around him. Sometimes you had to cut the line to see what was really broken. Sometimes you had to risk everything to save anything. And sometimes, impossibly, terrifyingly, wonderfully, it worked. And so, we place another story onto the shelf. Each one of these feels like a different little world we get to visit for a while, doesn't it? I have a question for you. If you were building a library of human experiences, what title would you give this story? The Art of Forgiveness? A Long Road Home? I'm genuinely curious what you'd label it. Drop your title in the comments. This library is something we are all building together. When you subscribe, you're helping us find and preserve the next story that needs to be told. The like button just helps new visitors find this particular aisle. It is an absolute honor to be building this collection with you. Thank you for everything. I'll see you for the next one.